After the breakup, I took a pregnancy test with 2 happy bars. My family arranged a luxury blind date. I had no choice but to meet the wrong person. Wanted to ask him if he could be happy to be a father. Once I entered the door, I froze. My ex-boyfriend was sitting in his seat with a black face, and when he saw me appear, he looked shocked. My mom enthusiastically introduced, "Luna, this is the heir to Thompson's family. Shouldn't he be at the construction site moving bricks?" My ex-boyfriend got up and looked at me with a smile on his face. "Aren't you going to serve dishes in a restaurant today?" When I met Ryan Thompson, I was in the midst of gambling and running away from home. My dad suspended my cards and confiscated my car and house. On the principle that I couldn't starve to death without receiving assistance from my family, I applied for a job as a hotel waitress. On the first day of work, I forcibly kissed him. It can't be blamed on me, blame the tiles, blame the ant. 5-star hotels, really mopping too hard. Ryan Thompson, whom I forcibly kissed, had scarlet cheeks, delicate features, and skin that was on the verge of pinching out water. I wanted to say, "I'm sorry, are you okay?" I didn't realize that it would turn into, "I'm sorry, do you mind? If you do, I'll be responsible for you." Ryan Thompson froze for a moment, and quickly curled his lips into a light smile. "Yes. Me. Even if he is handsome, his voice is so sexy. God must have seen that I am so poor that he gave me such a big handsome guy. It's just that the handsome guy doesn't seem to have much money and is dressed in a spellbinding outfit. But it doesn't stop him from being handsome." Ryan Thompson stayed until I got off work. He was so shy that he didn't even dare to hold my hand. "Where do you live? I'll take you home." He said it's not safe for a girl to go home at night. Listen, what a considerate treasure boy. I said shyly, "I'm poor, I rent my house, and I'm a waitress." Ryan Thompson suddenly grabbed my hand and said earnestly, "My family is poor, but we are young and have hands and legs, so we can rely on our own hard work. As for work, there is no distinction between noble and lowly." I can't help but ask, "Are you a professional?" I couldn't help but ask, "What kind of work do you do?" Ryan Thompson's eyes flashed a trace of panic. He paused for a moment, reached out and pointed to the front not far away from a large area of semi-finished high-rise construction site, said, "I work there." "Oh. So it is a construction site to move bricks, ah. No wonder understand the heart of the beat workers." I patted the shoulders of the said boyfriend. "The future is bright, ah." Ryan Thompson froze, then laughed, hooked his lips and said, "You too." Since then, every day when I went to work, I passed by Ryan Thompson's workplace. Every day since then, when I walk past Ryan Thompson's workplace, he stands on the sidewalk in his overalls and greets me. His shirt pockets were like treasure bags. Sometimes he pulled out buns and soy milk, sometimes he pulled out shumai milk. There was even strawberry mousse. I looked at the delicately wrapped cake package and recognized it as the same bakery I always ate at. In the past, I could show off 10 in one breath without batting an eye, but now with my $4,500 a month salary, showing off one is a luxury. I carefully scooped out a piece with a spoon and brought it to his mouth, saying, "It must be very expensive, right? You only make $8,000 a month, how wasteful to buy such an expensive cake." Ryan Thompson squeezed my hand and shoved the spoon into my mouth. Frowning, he said, "How can buying it for you be a waste? Did you not like it? Why don't you like it?" I've been away from home for the past month, and I've been saving my money so much that my mouth is fading. Last night, while walking past that cake store, it was only a few more glances in the window that I was surprised Ryan Thompson had made a note of it. I hugged him and kissed the corner of his mouth. "Thank you, you're too good to me." Ryan Thompson gratified smile, "As long as you like to eat, Ming. I will make big money later to buy that cake store and give it to you." The wish is very beautiful, the reality is very bone skinny. As far as I know, this cake store is not for sale for any amount of money. As a result, the next day, I woke up to the news that the cake store had been acquired by a mysterious buyer. Me? Who's that? On a roadside bench, eating the breakfast that Ryan Thompson brought me, I said vaguely, "I heard that M.O. Royal's cake store was bought out, and I don't know who it is, such a big deal." Ryan Thompson beside me visibly stiffened, and with a far-fetched smile, said, "You know all about it, huh?" Remembering that he said yesterday that he would buy the cake store for me, the tip of my heart was soft, and I immediately consoled, "Aya, don't be sad, These rich people just have a lot of money to burn. Ryan Thompson's mouth twitched and he seemed to be even more upset. Dear Da, in fact, I can eat the cake you bought for me, I am very happy, as for the cake store. The words have not finished, the pocket of the cell phone buzzing vibration. Remarks, old slick. It was my cruel father. A little vain, I immediately shoved the rest of the bun into Ryan Thompson's hand and ran to the side to answer the phone. Luna, Dad has thought about it. If you are homesick, then come back to see Mom and Dad. You say, Mom and Dad have pampered you for more than 20 years. Where can you stand the bitterness outside? Bitter? I turned back and looked at Ryan Thompson not far away. My heart was as sweet as honey. Dad was playing the love card for me because he didn't seem to be able to do it the hard way. I knew exactly what he had in mind. I don't know what happened to my mom in the past few years, but she suddenly became interested in traveling. She is still interested in traveling around the world. In just 2 years, she has already taken 4 trips abroad, leaving my dad, the love brain, at home, which made him very anxious. Can't wait to 24 hours a day, there are 20 hours to my mom on the video phone. The beautiful name, his wife is too simple, afraid of being cheated away. Fortunately, all these years of eating dog food have eaten out immunity. So, my dad started to poo me. He insisted on giving me the company to inherit, saying that he was too old and not strong enough. I think it's clear that he just wanted to travel the world with my mom and that's why he couldn't wait to lose the company to me. But if I am weak-minded, I will be trapped by him. Dad, I've said it before, I want to live a well-fed life with my own efforts. TCH. You daughter, you're still mad at Dad? Dad was speaking in anger at the time. Humph. Let's not talk about that. Luna, do you know who bought the Emo Royal cake? I'm not interested in anything else, but I'm very interested in this. I begged my dad to talk to him, but he wouldn't even sell it for $5 million. The store owner said he didn't want to make money, he just wanted to show his love. So, who bought it? My dad intentionally sold it, guess? Dad, that's not funny. If you don't want to talk, I'm hanging up. No. I'll tell you. Do you remember that Thompson guy Dad sent you on a blind date with? Yes, there was such a thing, Thompson something? My dad continued, think about it, Luna, now that he's bought your favorite cake store, once you two get married, you'll be able to eat cake in no time. Indeed, Emo Royal's cakes are sold in quantities every day and need to be booked in advance, so they may not always be available. But to follow my dad's wish of inheriting the company from a blind date just because he loves cakes, that's just too unprofitable, right? Dad, haven't you underestimated your daughter? Faced with temptation, I hung up the phone with a lot of backbone. Ryan Thompson, seeing that I was in a bad mood, came over to me and asked with concern, what's wrong? Nothing, my dad is nagging me. I put my arm around him and pouted, Ryan Thompson, we must double our efforts and make a better cake than Emo Royalty. Huh? Ryan Thompson looked at me in surprise. You don't know, the guy who bought the cake store is also named Thompson, but he's not as good as you are, you're handsome and hardworking, while that Thompson is just a second-rate guy. Ryan Thompson's face was, how can I describe it, a bit of a blank canvas. He asked me cautiously, Luna, why are you so hostile to the second generation? Wasn't it a popular saying in the early days that you'd rather cry on a BMW than laugh on a bicycle? I was afraid that this kid wasn't worried that I disliked him, right? So, I said, yes, I hate this kind of rich kid. You do not know, I have seen the rich people in our hotel, some of them are really thuggish face, arrogant, and rude, not as good as these hardworking poor people of ours, right? I belong outside of some. Ryan Thompson nodded slightly, and with a heavy heart, he held out the still warm bun he had placed in his arms to me. Smells good. Not to mention, these buns are big, thin, and stuffed with shrimp, beef, and shiitake mushrooms. Every time I eat one, it's different. Where did you get these buns? They're different from the ones I buy outside. Ryan Thompson froze for a moment, a flash of panic in his eyes. This is made by our family. I couldn't help but give a thumbs up and complimented, wow. Is that your mom or your grandma? The craftsmanship is awesome. Ryan Thompson, but smiled. After eating breakfast together, we each went to work. During the lunch break, my mom called as well. Honey, come home. Renting a room outside is not as good as living in your own house. I've already criticized your father. He shouldn't have said that. My mom thought I was still mad at my dad and refused to come home. Actually, it's not entirely because of that. I know what I'm like. I'm good at managing myself, but I'm not good at managing a company and taking over the family business. Most importantly, after being pampered by my parents for more than 20 years, I also want to step out of my comfort zone to see if I can stand on my own feet. Originally, I was working on my grad school project, and I didn't want to be a waitress for the long haul. But Ryan Thompson was a variable in my plans. Right now, I'm in love, I'm a waitress, and I can't go home. But I like him. Mom, don't try to talk me out of it. Why don't you talk to my dad? And I'm telling you, I already have a crush on someone. Really? Really? What does he look like? How old is he? Where's your home? What do your parents do? Me. You can't say anything out of this mouth. Mom, I have to go to work, I'm done. Luna, when did you get a boyfriend? Don't be shy, tell Mom. After I hung up, I wanted to slap myself. What's wrong with saying that you have a boyfriend? Sure enough, my mom started sidetracking me, and I was right to look the other way. In the evenings, Ryan Thompson came to take me home after work. We held hands together on the street, and when I was tired, he would carry me on his back and buy me hot roasted sweet potatoes and sweetened chestnuts. He cupped my face with deep affection. Luna, I'll buy a car next month, so you won't have to freeze with me. I immediately shook my head. Don't, sitting in a heated car, how can you help me warm my hands? I don't want to. The office isn't far from home, and we'll walk home and lose weight. Ryan Thompson looked at me, his dark eyes full of favor. Good. When I arrived at the neighborhood, I saw a familiar Big Ben from afar, especially the license plate number 888, which stood out in a crowd of ordinary cars. Why is my mom here? When Ryan Thompson wasn't looking, I immediately pulled out my cell phone. I realized that my mom had sent me a tweet, "Baby, Mommy's here to see you." This is all because I talked too much this afternoon. Mom, I thank you. I'm working overtime today, so I might not go back. Nonsense, I saw you standing at the entrance of the alley. My mom sent me another horny emoticon. Is the boy next to you your boyfriend? Come closer, Mom can't even see his face. What a mom. She didn't leave me any room for maneuver. I immediately pulled Ryan Thompson's arm. Honey, why don't you just send it here? Ryan Thompson raised his eyebrows and asked suspiciously, what's wrong? Nothing, it's just that I'm sorry that you've been working all day, and that you've traveled such a long way with me, so I want you to go home and rest early. Ryan Thompson pinched the tip of my nose and said with a smile, I'm very happy to be with you, how could I be tired? Seeing my mom open the door and get out of the car, I pulled him around immediately. In that case, then you can walk with me for a little while longer. With that, I pulled him away quickly. I distracted Ryan Thompson to buy milk tea and hurriedly called my mom. Mom, stop it. My boyfriend doesn't even know who I am, he still thinks I'm just an ordinary working person. My mom froze for a few seconds and said, oh. So that's okay, Mom can accompany you to act. I kneeled with her. I can't, your acting skills are too poor. My mom still won't give up, then Mom won't say anything, right? I came here to bring you food, and you're just going to let me go back. I looked around and said in my haste, Mom, all the people here are living in poor conditions. If you drive a luxury car, people will think you are here to show off your wealth. If people know that you are my mom, maybe the thieves will target me in the future. With these words, my mom really hesitated. Well then, honey, you have to protect yourself. Will your boyfriend be spending the night at home tonight? Me. Mom, what are you talking about? We're innocent, we're just in love. Watching Ryan Thompson walk over with 2 cups of milk tea, I immediately cut off the phone. Your favorite, Taro Bobo milk tea. I stood stiffly with Ryan Thompson at the mouth of the alley for 10 minutes, and was relieved to see my mom finally drive off in her car. Ryan Thompson's nose and ears were red from the cold, which hurt me a lot. Why don't you go up for a cup of hot tea? It was the first time we invited him over after a month of talking. Great. Ryan Thompson laughed and joked, and by the way, I can fix your light bulbs and unclog your drains. Fuck you. We joked and laughed all the way back home. I had just poured Ryan Thompson a cup of hot water when there was a knock at the door. Maybe it's a delivery. I explained as I met his puzzled gaze. When I opened the door, I was dumbfounded. It was my mom. What's worse, she was also wearing a certain platform's takeaway outfit. At first glance, it really looked like that. My mom saw me, and a formulaic smile floated on her face. Handing me the takeout with one hand, she peeled me away and stretched her head towards the house. In a voice too loud to be heard, she growled, "It's for two, isn't it? I sent you 2 sets of cutlery, yo. Help, I would really appreciate it." I looked back in a panic and saw that Ryan Thompson wasn't coming out. Then I dared to lower my voice, "Mom, what are you doing?" My mom looked at me with an innocent expression, "Delivery." Especially when she told me with great joy, "Baby Luna, thanks to you reminding Mom that you have to keep a low profile, I feel so much more grounded now that I've changed my takeout clothes to collect the rent." Me, what? Does she deliver like this? No, is she collecting rent like this? I should have known that a curious person like my mom would not be able to hold back her burning desire to gossip when she found out that I had a boyfriend. "Mom, don't spoil it for me anymore, your takeout has been delivered, you can go now." My mom looked at me incredulously as if I wasn't her own. "Honey, I'm dressed up like this to see you, can't you invite me in for a cup of tea?" My mom did it on purpose, so I politely said, "Mom, have you ever seen a deliveryman invited in for tea?" After serious consideration, my mom said, "It's not impossible, I remember seeing it on the news last time." Why is she so serious? "Mom, I'm not going to mess with you, tomorrow I can take a whole day off work to be with you, is that okay?" My mom shook her head decisively. "No, I want today." Me. "Mom, you're my mom, but not today." "Well, it's time to show who I really am." Me, exclamation point. Is she going to turn, or is she going to spill the beans with Ryan Thompson? Without waiting for her to say anything, I made the first move with my eyes. When Ryan Thompson couldn't wait to get to the door, he saw me covering my mom's mouth. My mom's eyes were glazed over and she was whimpering, not sure what she was trying to say. I hurriedly explained to Ryan Thompson through the half-covered door, "Wait a minute, I have something to say to this auntie, you sit down first, go and sit down." Ryan Thompson looked at me with a serious look and hesitated for a moment before returning to the living room. I hurriedly pulled my mom to the door and closed it in the process. One look, just one look, and I got a good look at him. My mom slapped me twice on the back and blamed, "You little heartless, even if he's a poor boy, you're Mom and I won't make things difficult for him. As long as you like it, Mom will support you." Although my mom's words were very warm, I hadn't forgotten that I had hidden my identity from Ryan Thompson. I explained as I brushed her back. "Mom, you understand your daughter. What if you go in there and he gets mad if you reveal yourself?" My mom stared at me for half a second and then said, "Why are you a love brain like your dad?" "Luna," my mom smiled like a fox, "you didn't think I was trying to show my mother-son relationship with you, did you? Or what?" My mom grunted softly and pulled a large set of keys out of her purse, waving them proudly in front of my eyes. She said, "I'm here to collect the rent. I forgot to tell you that you're renting your own house." Me, question mark. No, I starved myself to pay 3 months' rent in one go, and my mom is now telling me that I'm renting my own house. Mom, are you polite? I kind of understand why my dad's meaningful words when I left home in the first place. Luna, you're too young to understand why the Monkey King can't jump out of Buddha's 5-finger mountain. This is not a case of not being able to jump out of the mountain. It is clearly a case of jumping out of one pit and being pushed into another pit by them. Thinking of this, I took my mom's hand and asked petulantly, "Mom, then can I?" "No. I haven't finished yet. I know what you want to say, free rent? Rent-free." Me. What a mom, a quick refusal. I was afraid that Ryan Thompson would get suspicious waiting inside, so I coaxed my mom away and rushed back. Ryan Thompson heard me open the door and immediately greeted me at the door, eagerly asking, "What's going on? Did you have a conflict?" I smiled and waved my hands. "No, I'm fine with that aunt just now." Ryan Thompson half convinced, "And she is?" My eyes rolled around, not daring to look directly at him. "I'm begging for a favorable review. It's been many days since I've had a meal cooked by my aunt at home, and I'm burying my head in the sand, so I don't pay much attention to what he's saying. Ryan Thompson is very nice to me, I can't be too hard on him, right? I finally learned how to make sushi after failing numerous times over the weekend at home, following the recipe my aunt taught me. Monday noon, in order to give Ryan Thompson a surprise. I purposely came to the outskirts of the construction site where he was working before calling him. Honey, guess where I am right now? The machines on the site were humming, but Ryan Thompson's background voice on the other end of the line was strangely quiet. I looked up to the top floor of 26, which was under construction, and saw figures the size of soccer balls working away up there. Ugh. Construction workers can be so hard. Luna, where are you? Ryan Thompson's voice was low and magnetic, and my heart pounded at the sound of it. I'm bringing you lunch outside your construction site. I said thoughtfully, I know you're working on the top floor, so don't rush down, I can wait for you. Okay, you wait for me, Luna, don't come in here, it's dirty, and it's not safe. Probably too excited, I could hear Ryan Thompson's voice was a little unsteady. 15 minutes later, Ryan Thompson stood in front of me, panting. He was wearing a yellow helmet and dirty, ill-fitting coveralls. I touched his exposed wrist and said in a pained voice, Your leaders are too inhumane, why did they cut corners on your customized work clothes? Ryan Thompson blushed and stumbled to explain, Actually, the leader is also very busy, perhaps he didn't notice these details. Seeing his coy look, I knew that he would be too embarrassed to ask the leader to replace his work clothes. I was so anxious that I crossed my arms and said, The details are the most important thing. It's winter now, and you're working on the top floor, so your wrists and ankles are exposed, so what if you get arthritis when you're old? No way, I'm going to ask your leader for an explanation. My boy, I'll take care of him if no one else does. With that, I took his hand and rushed inside. Ryan Thompson had no choice but to borrow a helmet from a passing worker and put it on me. However, it was red. Luna, now the logistics brother Wong is not there, you just go there cannot see people. Don't worry, I'll definitely reflect this matter to him when he comes back. Ryan Thompson said sharply, By the way, didn't you come to bring me food? It just so happens that I'm hungry too. Hearing that the leader wasn't there, I had no choice but to stop. Thompson. Little Thompson, there is a place here. Not far away, a worker wearing a white helmet waved at him enthusiastically. Ryan Thompson took my hand and walked over, and when I went inside, I realized that the heat was still on inside the house. The small tin room was clean and tidy. Hey! Why don't your coworkers come in for dinner? I asked curiously. Ryan Thompson looked out and said, They've already eaten. Why, I take it back, your leader is really good, he even installed heaters in the place where you eat, Ryan Thompson said. Ryan Thompson looked at the thermos in my hand with a scratchy look. After moving bricks all morning, he must be starving. My heart sank a little at the thought. I made you sushi, do you taste it? Ryan Thompson took a piece and put it in his mouth, and immediately praised it. It's delicious, especially delicious, even better than the authentic Japanese sushi I've had. You've been to Japan? Ryan Thompson hurriedly shook his head. No, I bought a sushi called Nippon Sushi before. I touched the top of his head painfully, and couldn't help but say, I'll take you abroad to eat authentic cuisine in the future. Ryan Thompson looked up sharply. Huh? No. What I mean is, when we have money, we will travel abroad together in the future, okay? Ryan Thompson nodded his head. I couldn't wait to bite my tongue off, I was so close to revealing myself. I curiously looked out the window at an open space where a group of workers wearing different colored helmets were gathered together. What are they doing? Ryan Thompson said without looking up, a meeting. Why didn't they call you? Ryan Thompson paused before speaking, I don't have enough rank. I let out an ah and then realized. Ryan Thompson graduated from junior high school and came from a poor family, so it was good enough for him to find a job in a big city with a monthly income of $8,000. Ryan Thompson, do you guys wear different colored hats with different grades? Mr. Jose Maria Gonzalez. Right. Ryan Thompson, who had finished the entire box of sushi, came to the window and explained it to me. The side of his face is angular, with deep brows and a strong nose. His voice was low and clear, and the knot in his throat floated up and down. The whole person exuded a charming aura. I held my chin in my hands and stared at him in fascination. Ryan Thompson suddenly turned around, and when he looked at me, the corner of his lips curved. The dark eyes looked like countless stars were shining. At that moment, my head was jerked and I came close to him and kissed him. At the time Ryan Thompson moved, I suddenly pushed him away. Pointing to the hat on my head, I asked, "You still have workers who are leaders?" Ryan Thompson looked odd and stammered for half a day before saying, "Yeah, it's my uncle." I always feel that something is not right, but I cannot say. I still want to ask what. Ryan Thompson said, "You still have to work in the afternoon, I'll send you back. I'll take you home." Good idea. When Ryan Thompson and I went out, the group of workers who had gathered together immediately stared at us. Being stared at by so many people, I was a bit uncomfortable. In a low voice, I said to him, "These workers of yours are quite nice, they even sent me off with you, as if I am a big leader." Ryan Thompson silenced, shielding me from the crowd's eyes. Right, everyone is usually pretty good at taking care of Thompson me. Everyone is so loving. In the blink of an eye, Ryan Thompson and I have been in love for half a year, during which time I have successfully received my diploma. These days Ryan Thompson was always secretive and hiding when he faced me. "What's wrong with you? Are you doing something bad behind my back?" Ryan Thompson saw me pressing the question, had to explain, "I have seen your ID card, know that you are about to have a birthday, intend to give you a birthday surprise." I was so happy to hear that. It was hard to get through to my birthday, and when I got home, Ryan Thompson was standing at the door of the rental house with a bouquet of flowers waiting for me. "Happy birthday, Luna." As cheesy as the flowers were, I was still touched by the ritual of the damn thing. I was even happier when I saw that he had prepared a candlelit dinner by hand, just like on TV. Wrapping my arms around his neck, I barfed him a kiss on the cheek. "Thank you, Ryan Thompson." He pursed his lips and smiled. "What a silly thing to say, there's still a present for you, open it and see." Holding the exquisitely wrapped gift box, my heart was pounding. I've received countless gifts, and this is the first time I've received a birthday gift from my boyfriend. But the moment I opened it, my whole body froze in place. Ryan Thompson looked at me with a vague expectation in his eyes and asked, "What's wrong? Does it not look good or do you not like it?" To be honest, it looks good and I like it. But such an expensive gift shouldn't have come from him. Because it was a set of jewelry worth millions. The smile on my face faded as I closed the gift and I looked into his ink-black eyes and whispered, "Ryan Thompson, what made you think of giving me a jewelry set?" Ryan Thompson quickly glanced at me and blinked. I didn't know what to get you. I just thought you had an empty space around your neck, and when I was playing with my phone I stumbled across the necklaces for sale on the live stream, so I picked out a set. By chance? Selling necklaces? Which big anchor would openly sell jewelry worth millions of dollars in the live broadcast room? Is he treating me like a 3-year-old child? Looking at his sincere and incomparable face, I was unsure again. "This emerald." Ryan Thompson met my gaze and said with clarity, "The emerald looks fake, but the silver chain on it is real." Me. I forgot to tell him that I majored in jewelry design. Once upon a time, I have seen my mom's jewelry box with some green and flowery stones, and after I went to college and studied this major, I have come into contact with hundreds of stones without thousands of them. I can still tell if they're real or fake at a glance. After my birthday, Ryan Thompson said something came up at home and he had to go back for a bit. I pretended not to mean it and asked, "Do you want me to go back with you?" Anyway, we've been talking for quite a while and my parents know about him. It was time to pay a visit to Ryan Thompson's parents. But Ryan Thompson looked different, and immediately gave me a reason to turn him down. In the past, I wouldn't have cared. But now, he had just given me an expensive set of jewelry, and I couldn't possibly care less. After watching him get into a cab, I immediately called a car and followed him. The cab Ryan Thompson was in stopped after 2 intersections. I watched him get into a stretch Lincoln limousine on the side of the road, even as the driver came down to personally open the door for him. At that moment, my heart sank. Ryan Thompson he followed the car to a private clubhouse and looked at the name of the clubhouse. I remembered that this club not only requires a real name system, and is not open to the public, you have to be invited by the members of the club to get VIP membership. I didn't have time to think about it, but I saw a beautiful woman standing at the door all decked out in designer labels, waiting in anticipation. When she saw Ryan Thompson get out of the car, she greeted him with a big smile on her face. She hugged Ryan Thompson and he gave her a few pats on the back. Even though I was sitting in the car, I could clearly see a light smile on the side of Ryan Thompson's face. The woman then leaned into him and intimately took his arm into the clubhouse. I stared blankly at the empty door, my heart feeling like I had been stabbed hard. I never thought that Ryan Thompson would be a rich woman's adopted gigolo. What was I then? A canary in the sack? No wonder he gave me millions of dollars worth of jewelry, so it was all from the hands of a rich woman. When I think of this, my heart suddenly recoiled. This is the first time I fell in love, and I planted such a big heel. It is really ridiculous. When I got home, I called Ryan Thompson to break up with him after drinking a little wine. Ryan Thompson quickly rushed home and made me a bowl of sobering tea and tried to hold me and massage my temples. I refused mercilessly. Ryan Thompson, have you ever done anything wrong without telling me? Ryan Thompson looked at me quietly for a moment before shaking his head. No. Heh. I laughed softly. What a stiff upper lip. Fine, he's willing to keep it to himself, isn't he? Break it up. Ryan Thompson sighed. Luna, you're drunk. I'm drunk now, but 2 hours ago, I knew better. When I saw him dating a rich woman, I didn't say anything to his face, because I wanted to save him some face. I just suddenly realized I don't like you anymore. Bullshit. Ryan Thompson suddenly rushed over and hugged and kissed me. He used to treat me gently, but now he was like an enraged beast that wanted to crush me and melt me into his body. I couldn't break away and bit him hard. Ryan Thompson let go of his mouth in pain and looked at me with a deep gaze. Luna, I'm not breaking up with you. With that, he lowered his head for another kiss. I guess I was crazy to try to satisfy him. There are some things that once you start, it's hard to stop. It was the latter part of the night when I came to my senses completely. Ryan Thompson was lying next to me, his breathing even and long. Tiptoeing out of bed, getting dressed, and looking at the sleeping Ryan Thompson, I grimaced. After hacking Ryan Thompson's contact information, I took out $1,000 from my bag and left a sticky note. I'm tired of playing, I'll leave this money for you to replenish your body. Goodbye. When I returned home in a gray head, my parents guessed that I must have lost my love. They tacitly agreed to never mention the matter of inheriting the family business. But I didn't expect the breakup to come back quite so strong. I don't know how, but my appetite suddenly started to get bad. When I saw the greasy food, I started to regurgitate, and I could see that I was losing weight, so my mom was heartbroken. She went to buy me a cake from Emma Royal. Oh no, they were bought out and changed their name. It's now called Attachment Cakes. What a stupid name. It's a good thing I can still eat cake now. My mom comfortably touched my head, and softly persuaded me, saying, what's old isn't gone, what's new isn't coming, that brat doesn't know how to cherish you, there are people who understand you. My heart sank, and tears quickly rose to my eyes. I tried hard to hold back the tears, not wanting my mom to worry. I lightly pulled the corner of my mouth and said, Mom, I'm fine, it's just men. There are men all over the place, your daughter, I am so excellent, why worry about not finding a man who will treat me sincerely? My mom nodded her head repeatedly and recommended, the kid from Thompson's family that I mentioned to you last time is the one who bought the cake store, and I heard that he is single now. So why don't you? This was another move to get me on a blind date. At the end of the day, my mom added, just give mom and dad face. My mom has said so, I can only nod, Mom, you go to arrange it. My mom was pleasantly surprised and said repeatedly, good, baby, it's good that you figured it out. Probably because I ate too much cake, my belly was vaguely painful at night. I rubbed my belly button for a while before I realized, I hadn't had my period for 2 months. A bad feeling rose in my heart. Half an hour later, sitting on the toilet, I looked at the 2 bars displayed above. I was numb. I didn't know whether to be happy or sad. I was so angry that I wanted to find Ryan Thompson immediately, bite him twice, and kick him a few times. It was dawn, and I was still in a trance. My mom came in early in the morning and dragged me around picking out dresses and painting my eyebrows. It was only then that I remembered, half awake, that she had told me before I went to bed last night that I was going on a blind date today. I'm pregnant, so what's the point of going on a blind date? When I looked up and saw the long-lost smile on my mom's face, I suddenly couldn't bear to open my mouth. Since I came home these days, how long I was sad, my mom was sad with me. Now it's so hard to see her happy, what am I going to do to spoil the fun? It's just a blind date. Stirring it up is. I touched my flat belly and said, little thing, I'm relying on you today. The two of us arrived at a lavishly decorated restaurant. Before we even entered the private room, I followed behind my mom with my head down, determined to give that Thompson guy a bad impression. I didn't want to give him a bad impression, because his last name was Thompson, just like Ryan Thompson. Thompsons are no good. Luna, come here, this is Ryan Thompson. Thompson, Jen? I looked up reflexively. Who was the man in front of me if not Ryan Thompson? At that moment, my mind went blank and my ears buzzed. He was Ryan Thompson? It really was Ryan Thompson. So it was the same Thompson who bought the Emo Royal Cake House. I wasn't the only one who was equally dumbfounded. It was the same across the street. But Ryan Thompson's reaction was faster than mine, and his complexion quickly returned to normal. Sure enough, men are heartless. Without curiosity, I sneered, "Yo, shouldn't Ryan be moving bricks at a construction site?" Ryan Thompson looked at me calmly and self-possessedly and asked, "Shouldn't Ms. Green be serving dishes at a restaurant?" My mom and her mom froze. Ryan Thompson, after scanning the faces of both elders, smiled and said, "Just kidding." My mom then reacted, "So, you two have known each other for a long time." I shook my head nor nodded, it was like eating a fly. Mrs. Thompson even pulled my mom to excuse herself to go out shopping, so that Ryan Thompson could take good care of Thompson me. The room suddenly fell silent. Ryan Thompson and I did not look at each other. "How can you come on a blind date? Hey, can't he even speak human after the breakup?" I looked at him coldly and asked, "Did you not come on the blind date?" Ryan Thompson choked on me and explained, "I didn't know I was on a blind date before I came." I grunted lightly. He could have used that to fool a 17 or 18-year-old girl. I was about to open my mouth to mock him when suddenly a strong feeling of nausea rose in my stomach. I started throwing up into the trash can in the corner. Ryan Thompson rushed over to my side, and while helping me with my breathing, he asked gently, "What's wrong? Did you not eat properly? How many times have I told you to cut down on the ice, and you're not feeling well, are you?" "I'm suffering from pregnancy sickness." "It's all because of your baby." I pushed him away. "Don't be a crybaby, Ryan Thompson. Don't think that we can forget about what happened between us. You lied to me first. I won't get back together, and I won't get married to you." Ryan Thompson rubbed his nose. "I haven't said anything yet, Luna. Even if you're giving someone a death sentence, there has to be a reason for it, right?" I thought about it and deliberately coldly said, "What reason is not clear to you?" You can't." Finishing the sentence quickly, I fled like I was leaving. It was only after I was out the door that I realized my cheeks were rolling, and I shook my head in an effort to clear Ryan Thompson from my mind. I'd been hanging out all day and figured my parents were already resting before I came home. Unexpectedly, the duo were still sitting in the living room, looking as if they were just waiting for me. I awkwardly smiled at them. My mom interrupted me before I could finish my sentence. "She looked like you don't need to explain, we all understand. See, baby. I told you you'd love meeting that Ryan Thompson kid, and I'm relieved to see you guys are getting along." "Me? ? They both don't think the reason I'm home so late is because I went on a date with Ryan Thompson, do they?" I took a deep breath and asked, "What did he say?" My mom smiled and said, "Ryan Thompson said you guys like each other and you're almost engaged." "He farted. He's so full of himself." "Who's in love with him, Mom?" "I'm not marrying him." My mom gave me a blank look. "You're not still thinking about your ex-boyfriend, are you? He's poor and unambitious. How can he give you a good life in the future?" Me. I wondered if my mom's jaw would drop if she knew that Ryan Thompson was the ex-boyfriend she was talking about. I explained helplessly, "Mom, don't bring him up in front of me, we're long in the past." My mom let out an "oh," and then smiled. "I know, you must be embarrassed, right? It's okay, your father and I are not outsiders." I couldn't explain it clearly. After a tiring day, I don't even have the strength to speak. Seeing that I couldn't explain it clearly for a while, I simply waved my hand and went back to my bedroom. The next day, early in the morning, I heard a lot of activity downstairs. Is my mom having a party at home? I rubbed my eyes and looked downward. It was a shock not to look. Ryan Thompson and Ryan Thompson's mom and dad were sitting firmly on our couch, talking and laughing with my parents. "This Ryan Thompson, he's not going to stop, is he?" I yelled, "Ryan Thompson, get your ass up here." I regretted it as soon as I finished yelling. Looking at the four surprised faces, I wanted to dive into the quilt and cover myself up. Ryan Thompson, on the other hand, calmly said to his elders, "Luna told me to come up." My parents said, "Go ahead, Luna's room is the first one on the left on the second floor." Ryan Thompson's mom and dad were overjoyed, and anyone could see the words "this marriage is a sure thing" written all over their faces. After pulling Ryan Thompson into the room, I said angrily, "What do you mean?" He turned a deaf ear and instead took a long look around my room. "So you like these?" Ryan Thompson scratched his head in embarrassment. "I should have known better than to give you that heirloom set of jewelry." Me? ? So that was a family heirloom. Ryan Thompson looked at me and laughed. It was my first time giving a girl a gift and I was inexperienced, so I asked my sister for advice before I gave her the jewelry. "I didn't realize that you didn't like it." "Is that the point?" I didn't hold back for a moment and asked, "What's your sister's name?" Ryan Thompson took out his cell phone and showed me his sister's picture. "Hey, isn't this the woman he was so close to the other day?" It was Ryan Thompson's sister. Kissing sister? Ryan Thompson looked at me and raised his eyebrows. "Born from the same mom, of course she's his sister." Embarrassed? I'm so embarrassed. If Ryan Thompson knew that I broke up with him because I was jealous of his own sister, he would have laughed his ass off. Okay, I can forgive him for the jewelry thing. But he hid his identity from me. Bottom line, after all, I also hid from him to come. Ryan Thompson saw me half silent, pinched my cheeks and flirted, in my heart, "You are the best looking." I blushed when I realized what he meant. "What are you babbling about?" "Ryan Thompson, what are you laughing at? You stay away from me, you can't make a move on me." While we were fighting, there was a knock at the door. It was my mom. "Luna, Ryan Thompson, it's time to go out." As I was leaving the house, Ryan Thompson grabbed my hand and I couldn't shake it off. When my parents saw that Ryan Thompson was holding my hand, they had a look of ambiguity on their faces and kept winking at me. Ryan Thompson's parents had booked a restaurant, saying that the two families were going to have a formal get-together. I was curious to know, but when I saw that the restaurant I ordered was the place where I worked earlier, I didn't want to get off the bus. Covered up to the box, afraid of former colleagues to recognize me. When everyone was seated, the glass of wine had not yet been lifted, and the feeling of nausea and regurgitation struck me again. "Excuse me, I'm going to the restroom." I vaguely heard my mom mutter, "This kid has been throwing up for days, right? Usually the body is great how suddenly." When I came back again after throwing up, I suddenly realized that the atmosphere at the dinner table was a bit gloomy. I glanced at Ryan Thompson and realized that he was also looking deeply at me. What's wrong? After saying this, I realized that Lily, the coworker I was partnered with before, had come to serve this box. Lily saw me and acquainted herself well. "Luna, what are you doing here? You're pregnant and you still have to come to work?" "Actually, it's not. It's all my fault that I was so confused after finding out I was pregnant yesterday that I subconsciously spilled the beans to Lily. The next thing I knew, I wanted to stop it, but it was too late." She pointed at Ryan Thompson and said with instant clarity, "I know, you're here for this little white boy, aren't you? You cheated on Luna, and now you're a father and you're not even contributing, leaving Luna to be a single mom." The four elders looked at me, I looked at you, none of them could figure out what kind of love-hate relationship Ryan Thompson and I had. I was afraid that if my coworker continued to talk about it, it would get worse and worse, so I had to cover her mouth and pull her out of the room. "Lily, I'll take care of it myself, thank you." Lily looked at me very sympathetically and said, "Luna, don't be afraid, sooner or later, I'll make that scummy guy pay his due." "Hey, what are you pulling me out for? I have to serve the guests at this table." No, really." The atmosphere in the box was very heavy. Ryan Thompson's mom and dad were staring at him with a serious look in their eyes, a look that could be compared to a police officer interrogating a criminal. And I wasn't much better. Under the authority of each other's moms and dads, we managed to keep the whole meeting and falling in love thing under wraps. "So, where's the baby?" I couldn't help but shiver as 5 people stared at my stomach in unison. Ryan Thompson grabbed my hand and got down on one knee. "Luna, I'm sorry, it's my fault for hiding my identity from you. I'll marry you and take care of Thompson and the baby for the rest of my life." Just as I was about to say something, the door of the room was pushed open from outside. "Mom and Dad, what's wrong with arranged marriages nowadays? Do you know that my brother already has someone he likes? My brother has been moving bricks at our construction site for half a year for that girl. And that's not all, he gave away all the family's emeralds, and bought a crappy cake store, renamed it something like Attachment, though it's not because the girl's name is Luna. What is this if not true love? Anyway, I'll be the first to say no to this marriage. Ryan Thompson's sister rushed in and shocked the audience again. As we walked down the street, he was so shy that he couldn't even hold my hand. I'm small. Sister Thompson, what? I heard her lower her voice and say, damn kid, you're fooling me, aren't you? Ryan Thompson. Years after my marriage to Ryan Thompson, I still get a kick out of remembering that day in public. Ryan Thompson and I didn't even have time to talk that day. Our parents were on fire, discussing our wedding day. Ryan Thompson came to our door every day with an ugly cake. It is said that he has learned the art of baking from the Attachment Cake House. I looked at the unrecognizable cake in front of me, and even my remaining appetite disappeared. Why don't you stop learning? It's a waste of cake. Ryan Thompson has an air of frustration that gets the better of him. No, I'm going to make your favorite cake, and I'm going to hand feed it to you at our wedding. I was silent. Give me a break and give the cake a break. Ryan Thompson. Years later, when Ryan Thompson and I had a son who was 7 or 8 years old. He had a favorite girl in his class and asked me joyfully, Mom, I want to make a cake for Timmy, just like Dad made for Mom. Of course. Come on, let's go to Daddy and let him teach you. Ryan Thompson was swinging with his sister in the garden. When the little one saw me, she jumped down from the swing with joy. Mommy, I want a cookie. I pretended to be distressed. Oh, what if Mommy doesn't know how to make them? The baby pointed to Ryan Thompson, Daddy does. Ryan Thompson and I smiled at each other and held each other's hands tightly.